Hey guys, you are going to be watching a video today so that you can learn about partial products. And my objective for this video is that you are going to be able to successfully do a 2-digit by 1-digit partial products problem after watching this video. So let's get started. So the first problem we're going to look at is 23 times 4. And before I just explain to you exactly how to do partial products, we need to talk about what are partial products. And partial products are part of the entire product. So instead of just doing 23 times 4, we're going to break that down into two simpler problems that we could do mentally, and then we're going to put both of those partial products back together. Let me show you what I mean. I am going to draw, let me use red, some place value blocks. Now these lines right here are going to represent tens, and then the dots are going to represent ones. So right here I have 10, 20, 1, 2, 3. Now I have 23 4 times. So I'm going to make another 23. That would be 23 times 2, 23 times 3, and 23 times 4. Now when I'm doing regular multiplication, all I'm doing is this 23 4 times. Now I'm going to actually break that down though into two simpler problems, partial products, and then I'm going to put those products together. Now the way that I'm going to break that up is I'm going to break it up into tens and ones. So if I drew a line here, I now have all of my tens on one side and I have my ones on the other. So on this side, the multiplication sentence that I could use to describe this array would be 20 times 4. Because across the top I have this line which is 10, and then this line which is 10. So I have 20, and I have 24 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Then on this side of the array, I'm going to have 3 times 4, because I have 3 across, 1, 2, 3, and I have 4 rows of 3. Both of these are called partial products. I could do both of these mentally in my head. I know that 3 times 4 is 12, and I know that 20 times 4 is 80. All I did was I took the 23 and I broke it into its tens and ones to make it simpler for me to do. So I took the 2 tens and turned it into 20, and I kept the 3 ones just the way they are. Now that I have my two partial products of 80 and 12, I can put them back together and get the product of the entire problem, 23 times 4. So if I do 80 and 12, I get 92. So I could say that 23 times 4 has a product of 92, and I did that using partial products. Let's look at another one using some base 10 blocks that I've already drawn on. So here we have 42 times 3. Now I went ahead and already did the blocks for us just to make this a little bit quicker. So what I did was I showed 40 across the top. You can look at those black lines. Those equal 10, 10, 20, 30, 40. And then I have 2 dots. Oh, well I did 42 4 times. We'll fix this. 42. And I did 42 4 times. So when I do partial products, I'm going to break this down into two easier multiplication sentences that I could do in my head, and I'm going to do that by breaking this 42 into its tens and ones. So I'm going to split this array with the tens and ones. So how many tens are in 42? There are 4 tens, which is 40. So I'm going to take the 40, which is shown here, 10, 20, 30, 40, and I'm going to multiply 40 by 4 because I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of 40. Now I know 40 times 4, I can do that really easily because 4 times 4 is 16. I need something 10 times bigger because 40 is 10 times bigger than 4. I'm going to add a 0 because 160 is 10 times bigger than 16. Then I'm going to take the ones from 42, which is 2. And I have 2 times 4. That would be this part of the array. 2 times 4 is 8, but I'm not quite done. So I took 42, I split it into its tens and ones, because I could do both of those problems mentally in my head, but now I have to put both of those partial products back together. So I could say 160 plus 8 is going to give me 168. So I could say that the product of 42 and 4 is 168. Parents, I know that this is not the way that you learned multiplication, and eventually we will learn an algorithm, but for now, try partial products with your child. It'll get easier, I promise. We're going to look at one more example with some place value blocks. Now this is an example where we even go into the hundreds. So this example is 112 times 3. So I did the same thing by drawing the blocks, except this time I added that big square on the left. That big square is representing 100. So I have 100 here. Then I have the line, which is 10. And then I have 2 ones, which would give me 100, 110, 111, 112. Now I'm going to have to split this up into 3 separate and simpler multiplication problems so that I get 3 partial products. I'm going to split it into ones, tens, and hundreds. So I'm going to draw a line on my array to separate my ones, tens, and hundreds. And what I'm doing is breaking 112 down into its hundreds, tens, and ones in its expanded form. So in 112, there is 100. So the multiplication sentence for that part of the array would be 100 times 3, because I have 300 cubes. Then I'm going to look at my tens. There is 110, and that multiplication sentence is going to be 10 times 3, because I have 3 rows of 10. Finally, I'm going to look at the ones. There are 2 ones, and I have 2 3 times. I could do all of these partial products in my head. 100 times 3 is 300, 10 times 3 is 30, and 2 times 3 is 6. Then I have to add my 3 partial products together to come up with our final product of 112 times 3. Drawing the blocks is a really good way to start. Once you get good at drawing the blocks, though, you might not need that visual, so I'm going to also show you some ways you can do this without drawing blocks. So if we look at 56 times 7, I can still do partial products without drawing the array. All I have to do is break the number down into tens and ones. Now I can't break 7 down into tens and ones because it's only ones. I have nothing to break down. 7 ones is as small as I can go. But I can break down the 56. And I could break 56 down into 5 tens and 6 ones. So I'm going to start with the ones, and I'm going to do 7 times those 6 ones. Then I'm going to break it down into its tens. I'm going to do 7 times 5 tens. Now 5 tens is not 5. 5 tens is the same as 50. So I need to make sure that I have that 50. Then I could do both of my partial products. 7 times 6 I know is 42, and 7 times 50 is 350. I could then add my partial products together, 2, 9, 3, and come up with my final product. I believe I have one more example. So when we do partial products, the first step is to decide how many tens and how many ones do we have. So in 98, I have 9 tens and I have 8 ones. 8 ones, 6 times. Then I have 9 tens. 9 tens is not 9. 9 tens would be 90. And I have 9 tens 6 times. I can do both of these mentally in my head. 8 and 6 is 48. 9 and 6 is 590, and 6 is 540. Excuse me. Then I add both of my partial products. So 8, 8, and 5. And then I could say that the product of 98 and 6 is 588. So partial products, it can just be a simpler way to multiply that you can do mentally in your head without having to go through that algorithm yet, and we're really understanding the place value of tens and ones as we work. So hopefully you could do a problem now on your own. If I gave you one using the partial products method. Have a good night.